They threw her into the wolves' den on a Tuesday. Not because Tuesdays were sacred, not because the moon was full or the stars aligned, but because apparently the council had a scheduling conflict on Monday, and Wednesday was someone's birthday. So, Tuesday it was. Rowan Graves stood at the edge of the pit, hands zip-tied behind her back, staring down into the dark mouth of earth and stone below. Somewhere in that darkness, wolves were circling. She could hear the low rumble of growls, the scrape of claws on rock, the wet sound of something breathing too close to the surface. "Any last words?" the guard asked. His name was Kevin. She knew because his name tag was crooked, and honestly, if you're going to execute someone, at least straighten your name tag first. Rowan looked at him, then at the pit, then back at him. "Yeah," she said. "If I survive this, I'm reporting you to HR." Kevin blinked. She smiled, sweet, unbothered. Then she jumped. Not because she was brave, but because waiting for them to push her felt pathetic, and Rowan Graves had survived 23 years of bad luck, worse men, and one very aggressive HOA president. She wasn't about to let Kevin the guard have the satisfaction. The fall lasted 3 seconds. It felt like 30. Wind tore at her hair, darkness swallowed her whole, her stomach flipped, her heart slammed into her ribs, and for one wild, stupid moment, she thought, "This is it, this is how I go." Pushed into a hole by a guy named Kevin. Then she hit the ground. Hard. The impact knocked the air from her lungs, sent shockwaves up her spine, rattled her teeth. Pain exploded through her shoulder, her hip, her ribs. She rolled, gasping, choking on dust and the coppery taste of blood in her mouth. For a moment, she couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Then the growling started. Low, deep, circling. Rowan forced her eyes open. The wolves' den wasn't a metaphor. It was a literal stone pit, 30 feet deep, walls slick with moss and old blood. Bones littered the ground, some animal, some not. Torches flickered along the rim above, casting just enough light to see the shapes moving in the shadows. 5 wolves, maybe 6, all of them bigger than any wolf had a right to be, with eyes that glowed faint amber in the dark. One of them stepped forward, massive. Gray fur streaked with black, lips pulled back to show teeth like broken glass. Rowan sat up slowly, wincing. Her wrists were still bound. Her shoulder screamed. Blood trickled warm down the side of her face. The wolf growled. She stared at it. And then, because her brain had exactly 2 settings, fight or clap back, she said, "Okay, but if you eat me, you're gonna regret it. I had gas station sushi for lunch." The wolf stopped. Its head tilted, just slightly, like it was trying to figure out if she was serious. She was. The other wolves circled closer, their growls vibrating through the stone. The air stank of wet fur and old death. Rowan's pulse hammered in her throat, but she kept her face blank, her breathing even. Because here's the thing about fear. It smelled. And Rowan had learned a long time ago how to lie with her body. The gray wolf took another step, close enough now that she could see the scars along its muzzle, the way its breath fogged in the cold air. Its eyes locked on hers, unblinking, weighing her. Then it huffed, and sat down. Rowan blinked. The other wolves stopped circling. One by one they sat, watching her, waiting. She had no idea what just happened. But she wasn't about to question it. "Good boys," she muttered, heart still racing. "Very, normal behavior. Love that for us." The wolves didn't move. Above, she could hear voices. Shouting. Confusion. The council had been expecting screams. Blood. A quick, brutal end. Instead, they got this. Rowan tilted her head back, squinting up at the ring of faces staring down at her from the rim. Council members in their pressed suits, guards with crossbows, a few pack elders who looked like they'd just watched their retirement plan collapse. And standing at the center of it all, 3 figures. Tall. Still. Silent. Even from 30 feet below, she could feel the weight of their attention. It pressed against her skin like heat, like gravity, like something old and awake and wrong. They didn't look like the others. They looked like they'd been carved from stone and set on fire and told to wait. One of them stepped forward. Just 1 step. But the air shifted. The wolves around her dropped flat to the ground, ears back, heads low. Submission. Rowan's stomach twisted. She didn't know who they were, but she knew what they were. Alphas. Not just any alphas. The kind that made other alphas look like interns. The one in the center tilted his head, just slightly, studying her, His eyes caught the torchlight and flashed not amber, not gold. Crimson. Dragonfire. Oh. Oh no. Rowan's mouth went dry. The wolf's den wasn't a punishment. It was a test. And she'd just passed. The figure in the center moved again, a slow, deliberate turn toward the council. He didn't speak. Didn't need to. The message was clear. She's ours now. Then all three of them turned and walked away. Just like that. Gone. The council erupted into chaos. Voices overlapping, accusations flying, someone screaming about protocol. But Rowan couldn't hear any of it. Her ears were ringing. Her heart was slamming against her ribs so hard she thought it might crack. Because the wolves around her? They were still sitting. Still watching. Still waiting. And deep in the pit of her stomach, beneath the fear and confusion and the absolutely unhinged urge to laugh, she felt it. A pull. Faint, warm, impossible. Like a string tied around her ribs, tugging her toward something she couldn't see. Rowan closed her eyes and let out a long, shaky breath. Well, she whispered to the wolves, to the darkness, to whatever the hell just claimed her. This is gonna suck. The wolves didn't move. Rowan sat in the dirt, blood drying on her temple, wrists still bound, staring up at the empty space where the 3 dragon alphas had been standing. The torchlight flickered. The council's voices echoed somewhere above, muffled and frantic, like wasps trapped in a jar. But down here? Silence. Just her, the wolves, and the slow, creeping realization that she had absolutely no idea what happened. The gray wolf, the big one, the one that had sat first, shifted its weight. Its amber eyes never left her face, watching, waiting for something. Rowan exhaled slowly, testing the air between them. So, she said, voice hoarse, are we friends now? Or are you waiting for me to pass out so you can skip the awkward small talk? The wolf's ear flicked. That was it. No growl, no lunge, just that. Rowan's heartbeat slowed. Barely. Her shoulder throbbed where she'd landed, and her ribs ached with every breath. The zip ties bit into her wrists, plastic cutting into skin. She twisted her hands, trying to loosen them, but the angle was wrong. All she managed to do was scrape her knuckles raw. Fantastic, she muttered. Love being helpless. Really adds to the ambiance. One of the smaller wolves, sleek, rust-colored, eyes like copper pennies, crept closer, low to the ground, cautious. It sniffed the air near her legs, head tilted, nostrils flaring. Rowan froze. The wolf's nose twitched. Once, twice. Then it made a sound. Not a growl, not a whine. A huff, soft, confused. It backed up 2 steps, sat down, and stared at her like she was a puzzle it couldn't solve. Yeah, Rowan said quietly. I get that a lot. Above, the shouting grew louder. Footsteps scraped against stone. Someone was arguing something about protocol, about jurisdiction, about who had the authority to override a council sentencing. Rowan didn't care. Because the pull in her chest? It was getting stronger. Not painful, not yet, but insistent, like a hand wrapped around her ribs, tugging gently toward something she couldn't see. It made her skin prickle, made her breath catch in a way that had nothing to do with fear. She hated it. The gray wolf stood, slowly, deliberately. It padded toward her, massive paws silent on the stone, until it was close enough that she could see the individual hairs along its muzzle, the faint scars crossing its snout. Rowan didn't move. The wolf lowered its head and pressed its nose to her bound wrists. Her breath hitched. Warmth spread from the point of contact, rolling up her arms, into her shoulders, settling low in her stomach. It wasn't pack magic, wasn't a bond. It was something older, simpler. Recognition. The wolf exhaled, breath hot against her skin. Then it bit down on the zip tie. Not her, the tie. The plastic snapped. Rowan jerked her hands free, rubbing at the raw marks on her wrists. Her pulse hammered in her ears. The wolf stepped back, watching her with those unblinking amber eyes. Thanks, she whispered. It sat. She flexed her fingers, testing the ache in her joints. Her whole body hurt. Her head was swimming, but her hands were free. That was something. The torches above guttered. Shadows danced across the stone walls. Rowan could hear footsteps now closer, heavier, not council, not guards. Something else. The wolves heard it too. Every head turned toward the far side of the pit, where a narrow tunnel carved into the rock. The entrance was barely visible in the dark, half hidden behind a fallen boulder. The gray wolf growled. Low, warning. Rowan's stomach dropped. The footsteps stopped. Then a voice echoed from the tunnel. Deep, rough, laced with smoke and old embers. Get up. It wasn't a request. Rowan's legs moved before her brain caught up. She pushed to her feet, swaying slightly, ribs screaming in protest. The wolves shifted around her, forming a loose circle, protective, not of her. Around her, the voice came again, closer now. Walk. She didn't want to, but her feet moved anyway. One step, then another. The wolves parted, clearing a path toward the tunnel. Rowan's mouth went dry. Her hands trembled. That pull in her chest yanked harder, dragging her forward like a fish on a line. She stopped at the mouth of the tunnel and looked back. The pit was empty. The wolves had melted into the shadows. The torches above flickered, casting long, uneven light across the bones scattered in the dirt. She was alone. Move. The voice was right behind her now. Rowan spun and froze. He stood in the tunnel entrance, half shrouded in darkness, tall, broader than any man had a right to be. His eyes caught the torchlight and burned crimson threaded with gold, like embers in a dying fire. Dragon fire. One of the three. He didn't speak, didn't move, just stood there, watching her with an expression that could have been carved from granite. His jaw was sharp enough to cut glass. His hair was dark, pushed back from his face, still damp like he'd just shifted. He wore black, simple, functional, but it didn't matter. He could have been wrapped in burlap, and he'd still look like something out of a myth. Rowan swallowed hard. Hi, she said. Because her brain was useless. Lovely weather we're having. His eyes narrowed. She bit the inside of her cheek. Shut up, shut up, shut up. He stepped forward. Not fast, not slow, just steady, inevitable. Rowan's pulse spiked. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her legs wouldn't move. The pull in her chest flared, hot and insistent, dragging her toward him even as her mind screamed the opposite direction. He stopped 2 feet away, close enough that she could smell him. Smoke, strawberry, rain on hot stone, something wild and burned and impossibly old. Her knees almost buckled. He tilted his head, studying her. His gaze dragged over her face, her bloodied temple, her torn clothes, her scraped knuckles. Slow, deliberate, like he was cataloging every injury, every bruise, every shallow breath. Then his jaw tightened. You're bleeding. His voice was lower up close, rougher. It vibrated through her chest like distant thunder. Rowan blinked. Yeah. Turns out falling 30 feet isn't great for your health. Who knew? His eyes flicked to hers. And for one heartbeat, she saw something flicker behind the stone. Anger. Not at her. At whoever threw her in. Then it was gone. He reached out. Rowan flinched. He stopped, hand hovering midair. His fingers were scarred, knuckles split and healed wrong, claws barely hidden beneath human skin. I'm not going to hurt you, he said. She didn't believe him. But she didn't move. His hand touched her temple. Gentle. Too gentle for someone built like a wrecking ball. His thumb brushed the edge of the cut, and warmth bloomed under his touch, not pack magic, not a bond. Something deeper, older. Rowan's breath caught. The pull in her chest yanked. Her knees buckled. He caught her before she hit the ground. One arm around her waist, the other cradling the back of her head. She gasped, hands braced against his chest, heart slamming so hard she thought it might crack. His scent wrapped around her, smoke and strawberry and something she didn't have a name for. It sank into her lungs, curled low in her stomach, made her head spin. Too much. Too fast. Let go, she choked out. He didn't. You're in shock, he said quietly. Your body's crashing. I'm fine. You're shaking. She was. Damn it. His grip tightened, just slightly, not restraining, steadying, like he thought she might shatter if he let go. Rowan closed her eyes, focused on breathing. In, out, in, out. The pull in her chest pulsed in time with her heartbeat. She hated it. She hated him. She hated that his arms felt like the first safe thing she'd touched in years. Who are you? She whispered. He didn't answer right away. Then low and rough and impossibly soft. Kate Ashford. The name settled over her like a brand. Rowan opened her eyes, met his gaze. Those crimson gold eyes that burned too bright, too close, too real. And what do you want with me? His jaw tightened. His grip didn't loosen. I don't know yet. Honesty, brutal and unvarnished. She almost laughed. Then footsteps echoed from deeper in the tunnel. More than one, heavy, deliberate. Cade's head snapped up. His whole body tensed, every muscle coiled tight. His eyes flared brighter, and the temperature in the tunnel spiked. Two figures stepped into the light. Both tall, both built like they could tear through steel, both watching her like she was the only thing in the room. The other two dragon alphas. Rowan's stomach dropped. Cade's arm tightened around her waist. And the one on the left, dark-skinned, silver-eyed, smiling like he'd just won a bet, said, "So, she's awake." The one on the right, pale, sharp-featured, eyes like winter frost, didn't smile. He just stared at her. And said, voice flat and cold as a blade, "She smells like us." Silence. Rowan's heart stopped. Cade's hand flexed against her ribs. And somewhere deep in her chest, beneath the pull and the fear and the exhaustion, something clicked. Rowan couldn't breathe. Not because Cade's arm was too tight around her ribs, not because the tunnel air was thin or the smoke smell was suffocating, because the words wouldn't leave her head. "She smells like us." That didn't make sense. That didn't make any sense. She'd never met these men before today, never seen them, never touched them. She didn't even know dragon alphas existed until 10 minutes ago when they showed up at the pit like some kind of apocalypse preview. And now this one winter eyes, sharp jaw, voice like frozen glass was standing there saying she smelled like them? No. Absolutely not. "Let go of me," Rowan said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. Good. She'd take it. Cade didn't move. Cade, the one with silver eyes, stepped forward, hands loose at his sides, posture easy, too easy, like he was trying not to spook a wild animal. Let her breathe. Cade's jaw tightened, his arm stayed exactly where it was. Rowan twisted in his grip, planting her palms flat against his chest and shoving. Hard. He didn't budge. Of course he didn't. Because that would have been convenient, and nothing about today had been convenient. "I said let go," she bit out. This time he did. Slowly, reluctantly. His hand lingered at her waist for half a second longer than necessary before he stepped back, putting space between them. Not much. Just enough that she could breathe without tasting smoke. Rowan stumbled, caught herself against the tunnel wall. Her ribs screamed, her head swam, but she stayed upright. Because falling in front of 3 dragon alphas felt like the kind of mistake you didn't get to make twice. The one with silver eyes tilted his head, studying her. His smile was still there, faint and crooked, like he found the whole situation mildly entertaining. She hated him already. "I'm Elias," he said, easy, conversational. Like they were meeting at a coffee shop and not in a murder tunnel beneath the execution pit. "That's Kieran." He nodded toward the pale one with winter eyes. "And you've already met Cade." Rowan said nothing. Elias's smile widened. "You gonna tell us your name? Or should we keep calling you the girl who survived the wolf's den?" "Rowan." It came out sharper than she meant. Defensive. She didn't care. "Rowan," Elias repeated, testing the name on his tongue. His eyes flicked to Cade, then Kieran, then back to her. Pretty name. Fits. Kieran still hadn't moved. He stood at the edge of the torchlight, arms crossed, expression flat. But his eyes, those cold, pale eyes, tracked every breath she took, every shift of weight, every twitch of her fingers. It made her skin crawl. "What do you want?" Rowan asked. Cade's gaze snapped to hers. "We already told you." "No, you said you didn't know yet. That's not the same thing." Silence. Elias's smile faded, just slightly. He exchanged a look with Cade, something unspoken passing between them. Then he sighed and dragged a hand through his hair. "Look," he said, "we're not here to hurt you. We're not here to scare you. We just need to figure out what the hell is going on." "That makes 2 of us," Rowan muttered. Kieran finally spoke. His voice was quieter than the others, colder, like frost creeping over glass. "You shouldn't be alive." Rowan's stomach twisted. "Excuse me?" "The wolf's den doesn't let people walk out." His eyes narrowed. "It doesn't let them sit down and have a conversation with the pack. It tears them apart. That's the point." "Well, maybe your wolves are broken." Cade's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Almost. Kieran didn't look amused. "They're not broken," he said flatly. "They obeyed you. That doesn't happen. Ever." Rowan's pulse spiked. She pressed her back harder against the stone wall, fingers curling into fists at her sides. "I didn't do anything. I just sat there. And they sat too. So that's not normal." "Yeah, well, neither is getting thrown into a pit for no reason, so I guess we're all having a weird day." Elias snorted. Cade shot him a look. Elias shrugged, unbothered. Kieran took a step forward. Rowan tensed. He stopped, hands still at his sides, but his eyes stayed locked on hers, sharp and unblinking. "What are you?" he asked. The question landed like a fist to the chest. Rowan opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. "I'm nobody." "Try again." "I'm serious. I'm just—" She gestured vaguely at herself, at the blood on her face, the dirt on her clothes, the exhaustion clinging to her bones. "I'm nothing. I don't have a pack. I don't have a family. I don't even have a job anymore because apparently getting framed for theft gets you fired and executed. So if you're looking for something special, you've got the wrong girl." Silence. Cade's jaw tightened. Elias's smile was gone. Kieran just stared at her, expression unreadable. Then Cade spoke, low, rough. "You're not nothing." Rowan's breath hitched. He stepped closer, not touching, not crowding, just close enough that she could feel the heat rolling off him, see the faint glow in his eyes. "You survived a 30-foot fall," he said quietly. "You survived the wolves. You survived long enough for us to get there. That's not luck. That's not coincidence." "Then what is it?" He didn't answer. Because he didn't know. And that scared her more than anything else. Rowan shoved off the wall, putting distance between them. Her legs shook, her ribs burned, but she stayed upright, stayed moving. "I need to get out of here," she said. "You can't," Kieran said. She spun on him. "Watch me. The council won't let you leave. You were sentenced. You're supposed to be dead." "Then I'll stay dead. I'm good at that." Elias stepped forward, hands raised like he was calming a spooked horse. "Hey, we're not saying you're a prisoner. We're just saying it's complicated." "Complicated," Rowan repeated, flat, bitter. "Right, because my life wasn't complicated enough." Cade moved, fast, too fast. 1 second he was across the tunnel. The next he was right in front of her, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "You think we want this?" he said, voice low, rough, almost angry. "You think we plan to walk up to that pit and feel—" He stopped, jaw working, hands flexing at his sides. Rowan's heart slammed against her ribs. "Feel what?" she whispered. He didn't answer. But the pull in her chest flared, hot, insistent, like a wire drawn tight between them, vibrating with something she didn't have a name for. Rowan took a shaky breath. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do." "I don't." "You feel it." His eyes burned into hers. "Right here." He tapped his chest, right over his heart, like something's pulling you. Like you can't breathe right when we're not close. Her mouth went dry. Because he was right. She did feel it. And she hated that he knew. "That doesn't mean anything," she said. "It means everything." "No, it means I hit my head too hard and I'm hallucinating." Elias laughed, short, sharp. "I wish." Kieran didn't laugh. He just watched her, expression carved from ice. "It's a bond," he said quietly. Rowan's stomach dropped. "No. Partial, incomplete, but it's there." "That's impossible. Bonds don't just happen. You have to. There's a process. She was babbling now. She didn't care. "You can't bond with someone you've never met. That's not how it works." "It's not how it's supposed to work," Elias said. "But here we are." Rowan backed up, 1 step, then another. Her spine hit the wall. "No," she said again. Firmer this time. "No, I'm not doing this. I don't care what you felt or what you think you felt. I don't want it. I don't want any of this." Cade's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Something that looked almost like hurt. Good. Let him hurt. She was done being the only one bleeding. "I'm leaving," she said. Kieran stepped into her path. "You won't make it past the guards." "Then I'll fight them." "You can barely stand." "Then I'll crawl." Silence. Elias sighed, ran a hand over his face. "You're stubborn. You're annoying." He grinned. "I like her." Cade shot him a look that could have melted steel. Rowan ignored both of them. She looked at Kieran. Met those winter eyes head on. "Move." He didn't. "Kieran," Cade said quietly. "Let her go." Kieran's jaw tightened. For a moment, Rowan thought he'd refuse. Thought she'd have to fight her way past a dragon alpha with approximately 0 functional ribs and a concussion. Then he stepped aside. Slowly, reluctantly, but he moved. Rowan didn't wait. She pushed past him, shoulders brushing his arm, and started down the tunnel. Away from them, away from the pull in her chest. Away from the insane idea that she was somehow bonded to 3 men she'd never met. She made it 5 steps before Cade's voice stopped her. Rowan. She didn't turn around. This isn't over. Her hands curled into fists. Yeah, she said quietly. I know. Then she kept walking. Behind her she heard Elias mutter something, heard Kieran's low response, heard the scrape of boots on stone as they didn't follow. They let her go. For now. But the pull in her chest stayed. And as Rowan climbed up through the dark, ribs screaming, head pounding, blood drying on her skin, she felt it grow stronger. The tunnel sloped upward. Steep, uneven. Every step sent fresh pain shooting through Rowan's ribs, up her spine, into her skull. Her legs trembled, her vision blurred at the edges, but she kept moving. Because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant acknowledging the pull in her chest that hadn't faded even a little. The tunnel walls were rough stone, slick with moisture. Moss grew in patches where the torchlight didn't reach. The air smelled like earth and old water and something faintly metallic that made her stomach turn. She didn't know where she was going. Just away. The tunnel curved, narrowed. Rowan pressed one hand against the wall for balance, the other clutched to her ribs. Her breathing came shallow and fast. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. Behind her, silence. They really weren't following. She didn't know if that was a relief or an insult. The tunnel opened into a wider chamber. Rowan stumbled out, blinking against the sudden brightness. Torches lined the walls here, casting flickering orange light across stone floors and rough-hewn pillars. It looked like some kind of holding area. Old. Forgotten. The kind of place people used before they had better options. And standing in the center of it, arms crossed, expression bored, was a guard. Not Kevin. Someone worse. Tall, broad, scarred jaw, eyes that tracked her movement like a predator watching prey. Rowan stopped. The guard didn't move, just stared at her. Then his mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. You're supposed to be dead, he said. Yeah, Rowan muttered. Didn't get the memo. His hand moved to the weapon at his belt. Not a gun, something older. A blade, curved, nasty-looking. Rowan's pulse spiked. She took a step back. He took a step forward. Council says anyone who survives the den doesn't leave, he said, voice flat, casual, like he was discussing the weather. Security risk. I'm not a risk. I'm just trying to go home. You don't have a home anymore. The words hit harder than they should have. Because he was right. She didn't. The guard pulled the blade free. Torchlight glinted off the metal. Rowan's stomach twisted. Her legs locked. She couldn't run, couldn't fight, could barely stand. This was it. She survived the fall, survived the wolves, survived 3 dragon alphas who smelled like smoke and danger and something her body wanted even though her brain screamed no. And now she was going to die in a forgotten tunnel because some guard decided the council's paperwork was more important than her life. The guard stepped closer. Rowan's hands curled into fists. Useless, shaking. But she wasn't going down without something. Come on then, she said, voice hoarse, bitter. Let's get this over with. The guard raised the blade. Then the temperature in the room spiked. Heat rolled through the chamber like a wave, thick and suffocating. The torches flared. Shadows danced across the walls. The air itself seemed to bend. The guard froze. Rowan's breath caught. Footsteps echoed from the tunnel behind her. Slow, deliberate, heavy enough to feel through the stone. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Cade stepped into the chamber. He didn't look at her. His eyes were locked on the guard, and they burned. Literally. Crimson threaded with gold, glowing brighter with every breath. His jaw was set. His hands hung loose at his sides, but the air around him shimmered. The guard took a step back, then another. His weapon hand trembled. Sir, he said, voice tight, I was just leaving, Cade said. It wasn't loud, wasn't a shout, but the word landed like a physical blow. The guard's face went pale. He sheathed the blade, fast, clumsy. Then he turned and bolted down a side passage, footsteps echoing until they faded into nothing. Silence. Rowan stared at the empty doorway, then at Cade. He still hadn't looked at her. I told you to let me go, she said. I did. Then why are you here? Finally he turned. His eyes met hers, and the glow faded, just slightly. Enough that she could see the exhaustion beneath the anger. Because you were about to get killed. I had it handled. His mouth twitched, not quite a smile. You could barely stand. I was improvising. You were dying. Rowan opened her mouth, closed it, because he wasn't wrong. Cade stepped closer, not crowding, just close enough that she could feel the heat still radiating off him, see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands flexed like he was stopping himself from reaching for her. "You can't leave," he said quietly. "Watch me. The council wants you dead. The guards have orders. You won't make it past the next tunnel. Then I'll find another way." "There isn't one." Rowan's jaw tightened. "So what, I'm supposed to just stay down here, hide in the dark until everyone forgets I exist?" "No," he exhaled, slow, controlled. "You're supposed to come with me." Her stomach dropped. "Absolutely not. It's the only option." "It's your option, not mine." "Rowan." His voice softened, just barely, but enough that it made her chest ache. "You're hurt. You're exhausted. You need food, water. Somewhere safe to sit down before you collapse. I don't need anything from you." "Yes, you do." The pull in her chest flared. Rowan flinched. Cade saw it. His eyes darkened, not with anger, with something worse. Understanding. "It's getting stronger, isn't it?" he said quietly. She didn't answer. The bond. He stepped closer, close enough now that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "You feel it every time I'm near, every time I touch you, every time I walk away. Stop. It's not going to stop, not until we figure out what this is. There's nothing to figure out. It's a mistake, a fluke, some kind of," she gestured vaguely, searching for words, "magical malfunction." His mouth twitched again, definitely almost a smile this time. "You don't believe that," he said. "I don't believe you." "Fair." Silence stretched between them. Rowan's ribs throbbed, her head pounded. Her legs felt like they might give out any second. Cade's gaze softened, just slightly. "Come with me," he said. "Just for tonight. Get some rest. Figure out what happens next. And if I say no, then I'll stand here until you collapse, and then I'll carry you." Rowan stared at him. "You're serious?" "Yes." "That's kidnapping. That's keeping you alive." She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him to go to hell, to leave her alone, to stop looking at her like she was something fragile and important and his, but her legs were shaking, and the guard was probably coming back with reinforcements. And the pull in her chest was so strong now it hurt. "One night," she said finally, voice flat, defeated. Cade's shoulders relaxed, just slightly. "One night," he agreed. Then he turned and started walking. Rowan followed. Because she didn't have another choice. And because some traitorous part of her wanted to. The tunnel system was larger than she'd thought. Cade led her through a maze of passages, some narrow and low-ceilinged, others wide enough to drive a truck through. They passed other guards, other wolves. All of them stopped, stared, but none of them moved. Not with Cade beside her. They climbed higher. The air grew warmer, less damp. Rowan's legs burned, her vision swam, but she kept moving, because stopping meant falling, and falling meant Cade would catch her. And she wasn't ready for that. Finally, the tunnel opened into a room. Not a cell, not a dungeon. A room, stone walls but smoothed, polished. A bed in the corner, low and wide, covered in dark blankets. A table, chairs, a small fireplace with embers still glowing. It looked almost comfortable. Rowan stopped in the doorway. Cade walked to the fireplace and added wood. Flames caught, casting warm orange light across the space. "This is yours?" she asked. "One of them." "You have multiple secret underground rooms?" "We have multiple territories." "Right, because they were dragon alphas. Of course they had territories. Probably had summer homes and investment portfolios too." Rowan's head spun. Cade turned, firelight catching in his eyes. "Sit down before you fall down." She wanted to argue, but her legs gave out. She stumbled. Cade moved. Fast, too fast. His arm caught her around the waist, steadying her, holding her up. The pull in her chest exploded. Rowan gasped. Her hands flew to his chest, fingers curling into his shirt. Heat rolled through her, sharp and overwhelming, stealing her breath. Cade went still. "Rowan," he said quietly. She couldn't answer, couldn't think. The bond hummed between them, alive and insistent, dragging her closer even as her mind screamed to pull away. His other hand came up, fingers brushing her jaw. Gentle, careful. "Breathe," he murmured. She tried. It came out shaky, broken. "It hurts," she whispered. His jaw tightened. "I know. Make it stop." "I can't." Her eyes burned. She blinked hard, refusing to let the tears fall. Cade's thumb traced her cheekbone. So careful, like he thought she might shatter. "I'm sorry," he said, voice rough, raw. "I didn't want this either." That should have made her feel better. It didn't. Because the way he was looking at her like she was the only thing in the room, the only thing that mattered, didn't match his words. Rowan pulled back, slowly. His hand fell away. She stepped out of his reach and walked to the bed, sinking down onto the edge. Her whole body ached. Cade stayed by the fire, watching her. "There's food," he said after a moment. "Water, clothes if you want to change." She didn't answer. "Rowan." "I heard you." Silence. Then footsteps. He moved to the door, paused with his hand on the frame. "I'll be right outside," he said. "If you need anything." "I won't." He didn't argue, just nodded once and stepped into the hall. The door closed behind him. Rowan sat in the silence. Firelight flickered across the walls. The pull in her chest stayed. She hated it. Hated him. Hated that his scent still clung to her skin. She lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling, ribs screaming, head pounding. And outside the door, she heard him settle. Not leaving. Just waiting. Like he'd wait all night if he had to. Rowan closed her eyes. "This is so messed up," she whispered to no one. The fire crackled. The bond pulled. And somewhere in the dark, 3 dragon alphas were awake. Watching. Waiting. For her. Rowan couldn't sleep. She'd tried. Closed her eyes, counted breaths, listened to the fire crackle and pop. But every time she got close, the pull in her chest yanked her back, sharp and insistent, like a hook buried under her ribs. It wouldn't let her rest. She stared at the ceiling. Stone, dark, smooth. The firelight made shadows dance across it, shapes that twisted and stretched and disappeared. Outside the door, she could hear Cade breathing. Slow, even, patient. It should have been creepy. It wasn't. And that was worse. Rowan sat up, slowly. Her ribs protested, her head swam. But she stayed upright, feet flat on the stone floor, hands braced on the edge of the bed. The room was warm, too warm. The fire had burned down to embers, but the heat lingered, clinging to her skin. She touched her temple. The cut had stopped bleeding, but it still stung. Her clothes were torn, filthy, streaked with blood and dirt. She needed to move. Needed to do something besides sit here and feel the bond hum between her and the man on the other side of the door. Rowan stood. Her legs wobbled but held. She walked to the table. There was food there, like Cade said. Bread, cheese, some kind of dried meat, a pitcher of water and a clean glass. Her stomach growled. She ignored it. Instead, she moved to the far corner of the room where a basin sat on a low shelf. Water, clean, a cloth folded beside it. Rowan dipped the cloth, wrung it out, and pressed it to her face. The cold shocked her skin, made her breath hitch. She wiped away the dried blood, the dirt, the sweat. Her hands shook. The cloth came away rust-colored. She didn't look at herself. Didn't want to see what the fall had done. Behind her, the door opened. Rowan spun. Elias stood in the doorway, not Cade. Elias, silver eyes, crooked smile, hands raised like he was approaching a wild animal. "Easy," he said, just checking in. "Where's Cade?" "Switched out. He's been standing there for over an hour. Figured he could use a break." Rowan's jaw tightened. "I didn't ask for a guard rotation." "Yeah, well, you got one anyway." Elias stepped inside, closing the door behind him. He leaned against it, arms crossed, watching her with that same faint amusement that made her want to throw something at his face. "You look better," he said. "I look like I got thrown in a pit." "Yeah, but you're standing. That's an improvement." Rowan turned back to the basin, dipping the cloth again. Her hands were still shaking. She hated that he could see it. "You should eat," Elias said. "I'm fine." "You're not." "I said I'm fine." Silence. Then footsteps. He crossed the room, stopped beside her, close enough that she could smell him. Different from Cade. Less smoke, more stone and cold wind. Sharp, clean. "You're scared," he said quietly. Rowan's fingers tightened on the cloth. "I'm not." "You are, and that's okay. What happened to you today was—" "Don't," she cut him off. Voice hard, flat. "Don't do the sympathy thing. I don't need it." Elias tilted his head. "What do you need?" "To leave." "Can't do that." "Then get out of my face." He didn't move, just kept watching her with those silver eyes that saw too much. "You really don't remember us, do you?" he asked. Rowan froze. "What?" "Us, the 3 of us. You don't remember." Her pulse spiked. I've never met you before today. Are you sure? Yes. Because the bond doesn't just happen, Rowan. Not like this. Not this strong. Not with 3 people at once. He paused. Something connected us, and I don't think it was random. Rowan's chest tightened. She turned to face him fully, the wet cloth still clutched in her hand. I don't know you, she said. Slower this time. Firmer. I've never seen you. Never heard your names. Never. What about when you were a kid? The question knocked the air from her lungs. Elias's expression shifted. The amusement faded. Something sharper took its place. Something almost sad. You grew up in the system, right? He said. Foster homes, group homes. Bounced around. Rowan's mouth went dry. How do you know that? Because we did background on you the second we felt the bond snap into place. He stepped closer, not threatening, just present. And because I recognized the look in your eyes. You've been running your whole life, just like us. That doesn't mean anything, doesn't it? She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he was wrong, that he didn't know her, didn't know anything about her life. But the words stuck in her throat. Because he wasn't wrong. She had been running, for as long as she could remember. From foster homes that didn't want her, from schools that expelled her, from jobs that fired her, from people who got too close. Always running. Always alone. Elias exhaled slowly. There was a fire, he said. 20 years ago, in a group home outside Denver. 3 kids died. 6 more were injured. The building burned to the ground. Rowan's hands went numb. We were there, Elias continued, voice quiet. Careful. Me, Cade, and Kieran. We were just kids, barely shifted for the first time. Didn't know what we were, didn't know how to control it. The room tilted. Rowan gripped the edge of the basin, knuckles white. There was a girl, Elias said. Maybe 5 years old. Dark hair, big eyes, scared out of her mind. She was trapped on the 2nd floor when the fire started. We got her out. Carried her through the smoke, got her to the medics. Rowan couldn't breathe. She didn't remember us, he said. Trauma, probably. Smoke inhalation. The medics said she'd blocked most of it out. But we remembered her. No. No. Her name was Rowan Graves. The words hit like a fist to the chest. Rowan's legs buckled. She grabbed the table, holding herself upright. Her heart slammed against her ribs, her vision blurred. That's not... Her voice cracked. That's not possible. It is, Elias's voice softened. You were there. We saved you. And when we touched you today, when the bond snapped into place, it wasn't random, Rowan. It was recognition. She shook her head. Hard. I don't remember. I know. I don't remember any of it. I know. Then how can you be sure it was me? Elias reached into his pocket and pulled something out. Small. Metal. He held it up to the firelight. A charm. Tarnished silver, shaped like a bird. Rowan's breath stopped. You were wearing this, Elias said quietly. Around your neck. It fell off when we pulled you out. I kept it. Don't know why. Just did. He held it out to her. Rowan stared at it. The bird, the delicate wings, the loop at the top where a chain would have gone. She knew that charm. She knew it. Her hand moved on its own, fingers trembling. She took it from him, held it in her palm. It was cold, heavy, real, and somewhere deep in her mind, buried under years of running and forgetting and surviving, a memory flickered. Smoke, heat, hands lifting her. A voice telling her to hold on. The smell of burned wood and melted plastic and something wild and dangerous and safe. 3 boys, older than her, eyes glowing in the dark, carrying her out. Saving her. Rowan's knees gave out. Elias caught her before she hit the floor. His arms wrapped around her, holding her up, steady and solid. It's okay, he murmured. I've got you. She couldn't speak, couldn't think. The charm bit into her palm. Her whole body shook. Why didn't you tell me? She choked out. We weren't sure. Not until we saw you. Felt the bond. Then we knew. But I can't. You don't have to remember everything right now. Just breathe. She tried. It came out broken. Elias lowered her to the floor, sitting beside her, back against the wall. He didn't let go, just held her. Quiet, patient. Rowan stared at the charm in her hand. The bird, the wings. I thought I imagined them, she whispered. Who? The people who saved me. The medics said I was confused, that there was too much smoke, that I made it up. You didn't. They said no one else was in the building. We weren't supposed to be. Elias's voice went rough. We were runaways. Didn't have papers. Didn't exist. We got you out and disappeared before anyone could ask questions. Rowan closed her eyes. Why did you come back? We didn't. Not on purpose. He paused. But the bond doesn't lie. When we felt it snap, when we saw you in that pit, we knew. You were the girl we saved. And somehow, 20 years later, fate, or destiny, or whatever the hell you want to call it, brought us back together. That's insane. Yeah, it is. Silence stretched between them. Rowan's heartbeat slowed. Her breathing evened out. The charm stayed warm in her palm. Does Cade know? She asked. Yeah, so does Kieran. And they didn't say anything. They wanted to, but you weren't exactly in a listening mood. Fair. Rowan opened her eyes, looked at Elias, really looked. Silver eyes, sharp jaw, the faint scar above his left eyebrow. He looked older now, harder, but there was something familiar in the way he watched her, something that made her chest ache. I still don't remember your faces, she said quietly. That's okay. I remember the fire, the smoke, hands pulling me, but not you. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, he shrugged. Doesn't change what happened. Doesn't change the bond either. No, it doesn't. Rowan looked down at the charm, the bird, wings spread, frozen mid-flight. I used to have dreams, she said, voice soft. Distant. When I was a kid, after the fire, I'd dream about flying, about being carried, about feeling safe for the first time in my life. Elias's jaw tightened. I thought they were just dreams, she continued, but they were memories, weren't they? Yeah, they were. Her throat burned. She swallowed hard. You saved my life. We did what anyone would have done. No. You didn't. She looked at him. You were kids. You could have died. You could have run. But you didn't. You came back for me. Elias didn't answer. Didn't need to. The truth sat between them. Heavy. Real. Rowan's fingers closed around the charm. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Trust you. Trust any of you. I've spent my whole life alone. I don't know how to. She stopped, shook her head. I don't know how to let people in. Then don't. Elias's voice softened. Not yet. Not until you're ready. But don't run either. Not from this. Not from us. Why not? Because you already tried. And you came back. Rowan opened her mouth to argue, then stopped. Because he was right. She'd walked away, and the bond had dragged her back. It would keep dragging her back, no matter how far she ran. The door opened again. Cade stood in the doorway. His eyes went straight to Rowan, sitting on the floor, Elias beside her. His jaw tightened. What happened? He asked, voice low, dangerous. Nothing, Elias said. Just talking. Cade's gaze flicked to the charm in Rowan's hand. His expression shifted, softened, just barely. You told her, he said. She deserved to know. Cade stepped inside. Closed the door. He crossed the room and crouched in front of Rowan, eyes level with hers. I'm sorry, he said quietly. Rowan blinked. For what? For not telling you sooner. For letting you think this was random. He stopped, exhaled. For everything. She didn't know what to say. So she said nothing. Cade's hand moved, slow, careful. His fingers brushed hers, just barely, where she held the charm. The bond flared. Not painful, not overwhelming, just warm. We're not going to hurt you, he said. I know. We're not going to force you into anything. I know. But we're not leaving either. Rowan met his eyes, crimson threaded with gold, burning, honest. I know, she whispered. Cade's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Then he stood, held out his hand. Rowan stared at it. Then, slowly, she reached up and let him pull her to her feet. Cade's hand was warm, solid, real, calloused palm against hers, fingers curling gently around her wrist like he thought she might bolt. She might. But not yet. Rowan let him pull her to her feet. Her legs wobbled, her ribs screamed, but she stayed upright. The silver bird charm still clutched in her other hand. Cade didn't let go. His thumb brushed the inside of her wrist. Just once, barely a touch. But the bond hummed to life, rolling through her chest, down her spine, settling low in her stomach. She sucked in a breath. His eyes searched hers. You okay? No. Honesty, brutal, simple. His mouth twitched. Fair. Elias stood, brushing dust from his jeans. He shot Cade a look that Rowan couldn't quite read. Something passed between them, silent, brief. Then Elias moved toward the door. "I'll let Kieran know," he said. "Wait." Rowan's voice came out rougher than she meant. Elias paused, hand on the doorframe, looking back at her. She swallowed. Does Kieran remember too?" Elias's expression softened. "Yeah, he does." "Then why didn't he say anything?" "Because Kieran doesn't say much of anything." Elias's mouth curved. Not quite a smile. "But he remembers. Trust me." Then he was gone. The door clicked shut. Silence filled the room. Just Rowan and Cade. The fire, the bond pulling between them like a living thing. Cade's hand was still wrapped around her wrist. "You should sit," he said quietly. "I'm fine." "You're shaking." She was. Rowan pulled her hand free, slowly, not because she wanted to, because she needed space, needed to think, needed to breathe, without feeling like the bond was swallowing her whole. She walked to the bed and sank down onto the edge. The charm bit into her palm. She opened her hand, staring at the tarnished silver bird. Wings spread, frozen. "I don't remember your face," she said, voice quiet, almost apologetic. Cade moved to the fireplace, added wood. Flames caught, casting warm light across his profile. Sharp jaw, dark hair. Eyes that burned even when he wasn't looking at her. "You were 5, he said. "I don't expect you to remember. But you remember me." "Yeah." "Why?" He was silent for a long moment. Then he turned, leaning against the stone mantel, arms crossed. His gaze found hers across the room. "Because you looked at me," he said. "Right before we got you out. Through all the smoke and fear and chaos. You looked at me, and you didn't scream." Rowan's throat tightened. "Most people scream when they see us shift for the first time," Cade continued. Voice low, rough. "Especially kids. But you didn't. You just stared, like you were trying to figure us out." "I was probably in shock." "Maybe." His mouth curved, just barely. "Or maybe you knew we weren't going to hurt you." The bond pulsed, warm, insistent. Rowan looked down at the charm. "I used to wonder who saved me. The medics wouldn't tell me anything. Said it didn't matter. That I should focus on moving forward." "Did you?" "I tried." She laughed. Bitter, hollow. "Spent 20 years running. Foster homes, group homes, couch surfing, never staying anywhere long enough to leave a mark. Always waiting for the next disaster. And now? Now I'm sitting in an underground room with a man who says he saved my life 2 decades ago, and that we're bonded by some kind of magical fate I didn't ask for." She met his eyes. "So no, I don't think I moved forward. I think I just kept running in circles." Cade pushed off the mantel, crossed the room, stopped in front of her, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to see his face. "You're not running now," he said. "I tried, you stopped me." "No, you stopped yourself." His voice softened. "You could have kept going. Could have fought your way past the guards. Could have disappeared into the tunnels and taken your chances. I would have died." "Maybe, but you've survived worse." He crouched in front of her, eye level now. "You stopped because some part of you wanted to, because the bond isn't just pulling you toward us. It's pulling you toward something you've been missing your whole life." Rowan's breath caught. "What?" "Home." The word landed like a fist to the chest. She opened her mouth, closed it. Her eyes burned. She blinked hard, refusing to let the tears fall. "That's not fair," she whispered. "I know. You can't just say things like that." "Why not?" "Because it makes me want to believe you." Cade's jaw tightened. His hand moved, slow, careful, fingers brushing her knee, just resting there, warm, steady. "Then believe me," he said quietly. Rowan stared at him, at the way the firelight caught in his eyes, at the scars on his knuckles, at the tension in his shoulders like he was holding himself back from something. The bond hummed. She hated it. She hated that it felt right. "I don't know how to do this," she said, voice breaking. "Do what?" "Trust you." "Trust anyone. I've spent my whole life alone. I don't know how to let people in. I don't know how to—" She stopped, shook her head. "I don't know how to be someone's home when I've never had one." Cade's expression shifted. Something raw flickered behind his eyes. Pain, understanding. "We've never had one either," he said. Rowan blinked. "What?" "A home. The 3 of us. We've had territories, safe houses, places to sleep, but never a home." He paused. "Not until today." Her heart slammed against her ribs. "We felt it the second we saw you in that pit," he continued, voice rough, honest. "Not just the bond, not just recognition, but something deeper. Like every piece of our lives that never fit suddenly clicked into place. That's insane. Yeah, it is. His mouth curved, sad, tired. But it's true. Rowan didn't know what to say. So she said nothing. Cade's hand stayed on her knee, warm, grounding. The bond pulsed between them, steady and insistent, no longer painful. Just there. Like a heartbeat she could feel outside her own chest. "Can I ask you something?" she said finally. "Anything." "Why 3 of you?" Cade's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "The bond. Why does it connect me to all 3 of you? That's not normal, even for shifters." He was quiet for a moment. Then he exhaled slowly and sat back on his heels. "We don't know," he admitted. "Bonds are usually 1-to-1, fated mates, alpha and omega, simple, clean. This isn't simple." "No, it's not." He ran a hand through his hair. "But the 3 of us have always been connected, since we were kids. We don't just share territory, we share everything. Power, instinct, even our shifts are synchronized." "You're a triad." "Yeah." Rowan had heard of triads, rare, powerful. 3 alphas bound so tightly they functioned as one, but she'd never heard of a triad sharing a bond with a single omega. "So what does that make me?" she asked. Cade's eyes met hers, burning, intense. "Ours." The word settled over her like a brand. Rowan's pulse spiked. Her mouth went dry. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him she didn't belong to anyone, that she'd spent her whole life being nobody's and she wasn't about to change that now. But the bond sang. And some traitorous part of her wanted to hear it. The door opened. Kieran stepped inside, silent, controlled. His pale eyes swept the room, landing on Cade crouched in front of Rowan, hand still resting on her knee. His jaw tightened. "Elias said you told her," Kieran said, voice flat, cold. Cade stood. She deserved to know. "And now?" "Now we wait." Kieran's gaze shifted to Rowan, glacial, unreadable. "Do you believe us?" Rowan's fingers curled around the charm. "I don't know. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." Silence stretched between them. Kieran didn't move, didn't blink, just stood there, watching her like he was waiting for something. "I remember the fire," Rowan said quietly. "Not all of it, but pieces. The smoke, the heat, hands pulling me, voices telling me to hold on." Kieran's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. "I remember feeling safe," she continued, "for the first time in my life, and then I woke up in a hospital and they told me I imagined it, that no one else was there, that I made it up." "You didn't," Kieran said. "I know that now." "Do you?" Rowan met his eyes, held them. "Yes." Kieran's jaw worked. Then he crossed the room, slow, deliberate. He stopped in front of her, towering, arms at his sides. "You were wearing blue pajamas," he said, voice low. "Controlled, with stars on them. Your hair was longer, you had a scrape on your left knee, and when I carried you down the stairs you grabbed my shirt and wouldn't let go." Rowan's breath hitched. "I had to pry your fingers off," Kieran continued, "one by one, because the medics needed to take you, and you cried, not because you were hurt, but because you didn't want me to leave." Her eyes burned. "I left anyway," he said, quieter now, almost apologetic, "because we had to. Because staying meant questions we couldn't answer, but I never forgot you, none of us did." A tear slipped down Rowan's cheek. She didn't wipe it away. Kieran's hand moved, slow, hesitant. His fingers brushed her face, catching the tear, thumb tracing the line of her jaw. The bond flared. Not painful, not overwhelming. Just warm, safe, right. Rowan closed her eyes, leaned into his touch, just slightly, just enough. Kieran exhaled, shaky, unsteady. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "For what?" "For leaving, for making you think you were alone, for not finding you sooner." Rowan opened her eyes, met his gaze, winter frost melting into something warmer, something almost human. "You found me now," she said. Kieran's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. Behind him, Cade moved closer. His hand settled on her shoulder, warm, steady, grounding. The bond pulsed, triple-threaded, stronger now, impossible to ignore. Rowan's chest ached, not from pain, from something bigger, something she didn't have a name for. "I don't know what happens next," she said, voice small, fragile. "Neither do we," Cade said. "But we'll figure it out," Kieran added. "Together." The word hung in the air. Together. Rowan had never been part of a together before. The door opened again. Elias stepped inside, carrying a tray. Food, real food, not just bread and cheese. Soup, fresh bread, something that smelled like herbs and warmth. Figured you'd be hungry, he said. Easy, casual. Like the room wasn't thick with emotion and bond magic and 20 years of unspoken history. Rowan's stomach growled. Elias grinned. Thought so. He set the tray on the table. Then he looked at the three of them. Cade's hand on her shoulder, Kieran's fingers still brushing her jaw. Rowan sitting between them, the silver charm clutched in her hand. So, Elias said, we doing this? Rowan blinked. Doing what? The bond, the triad, the whole fate brought us back together thing. He leaned against the table, arms crossed, silver eyes glinting. Because if we are, we need to talk about what comes next. Like what? Rowan asked. Like the council. Like the fact that they want you dead. Like the fact that you're bonded to 3 dragon alphas who just claimed you in front of half the territory. He paused. And like the fact that you have no idea what you're capable of. Rowan's pulse spiked. What does that mean? Elias's smile widened. The wolves didn't sit because you asked nicely, Rowan. They sat because you made them. You have power. You just don't know how to use it yet. Her stomach dropped. Cade's hand tightened on her shoulder. We'll teach you. And protect you, Kieran added. And probably annoy the hell out of you, Elias finished. But hey, that's what family does. Family. The word wrapped around her like a blanket. Rowan looked at the 3 of them. Cade, Kieran, Elias, the men who saved her, the men who remembered her, the men who the bond insisted were hers. Okay, she whispered. Cade's eyes widened. Okay? Yeah, she took a shaky breath. Let's figure this out, together. Elias's grin turned blinding. Kieran's hand dropped from her face, but his expression softened. Cade's grip on her shoulder gentled. You won't regret this. I might, Rowan said, but I guess we'll find out. The bond hummed, content, settled. For the first time in 20 years, Rowan Graves wasn't running. She was staying. The soup was good. Warm, herbed, the kind of thing that settled in your stomach and made you remember what it felt like to be human. Rowan ate slowly, sitting at the table while the 3 of them watched. Not hovering, not crowding, just there, present, like they'd been waiting their whole lives for her to take a single bite of soup. It should have been uncomfortable. It wasn't. Elias leaned against the wall, arms crossed, silver eyes tracking every movement. Cade stood by the fire, adding wood even though the flames didn't need it. Kieran sat in the chair across from her, silent, hands folded on the table. None of them spoke. The bond hummed between them, steady, content, like it had finally found what it was looking for. Rowan set down the spoon. You're all staring. You're eating, Elias said. It's riveting. It's creepy. You haven't eaten in almost a day. Forgive us for being invested. Rowan's mouth twitched, almost a smile. I'm fine. You're not, Kieran said, flat. Matter of fact, you're exhausted, injured, running on adrenaline and stubbornness. Sounds about right. Cade turned from the fire. You need rest. I need answers. You'll get them, after you sleep. I'm not tired. All 3 of them looked at her. Rowan sighed. Okay, maybe a little tired. Elias grinned. There it is, honesty. I like it. She ignored him, pushed back from the table. Her legs protested, her ribs screamed, but she stood, gripping the edge of the table for balance. Cade moved, fast, too fast. His hand caught her elbow, steadying her. The bond flared. Rowan's breath hitched. Heat rolled through her chest, down her spine, pooling low in her stomach. Not painful, not overwhelming, just intense. Cade's jaw tightened. You feel that? Yeah. It's getting stronger. I know. His thumb brushed the inside of her elbow. Just once, barely a touch. But her pulse spiked, her skin flushed, her body leaned toward him before her brain could stop it. Rowan, he said quietly, warning, or maybe asking. She pulled away. I'm fine. You're not. I said I'm fine, sharper this time, defensive. Cade stepped back, hands raised, giving her space. But his eyes stayed locked on hers, burning, wanting. Rowan turned away, forced herself to breathe. The bond tugged at her ribs, insistent and hungry, demanding she close the distance she'd just created. She ignored it. I need air, she said. You're underground, Kieran pointed out. Then I need a walk. A different room. Something. Elias pushed off the wall. I'll take you. I don't need a babysitter. Good, because I'm terrible at babysitting. He moved to the door, opened it, gestured. After you. Rowan hesitated. Looked at Cade. Then Kieran. Both of them watched her with identical expressions. Tense, careful, like they thought she might bolt. She might. But not yet. She walked to the door. Elias fell into step beside her. They left Cade and Kieran behind, stepping into the tunnel. The air was cooler out here, damper. Rowan's breath fogged in the torchlight. They walked in silence. Elias didn't try to fill it, just stayed close, not touching, not crowding, just present. Finally, Rowan spoke. How long have you three been together? Since the fire. That's a long time. Yeah. Elias's voice went soft, distant. We didn't have anyone else. No pack, no family, just each other. And now? Now we have you. The words landed heavy, real. Rowan's chest tightened. I don't know how to be what you need me to be. We don't need you to be anything. We just need you to be. That's a cop-out answer. Elias laughed. Short, rough, maybe, but it's true. They turned a corner. The tunnel opened into a wider space, stone walls carved smooth. A natural spring bubbled up from the ground, pooling in a shallow basin before disappearing through cracks in the rock. Rowan stopped, stared. It's fed by an underground river, Elias said. We use it for water, sometimes for other things. Other things? Clearing your head, washing off the day, sitting in silence until you remember how to breathe. Rowan walked to the edge of the pool, crouched, dipped her fingers in. The water was cold, clean. It numbed her scraped knuckles, soothed the ache in her hands. She closed her eyes, focused on the sensation, cold, real, grounding. Behind her, Elias's footsteps echoed, then stopped. Can I ask you something? He said. Sure. Why did you agree? Rowan opened her eyes. To what? To this, to staying, to figuring it out. He paused. You could have walked away, could have told us to go to hell. Could have risked the tunnels and the guards and taken your chances. I thought about it. But you didn't. No. She pulled her hand from the water, dried it on her torn jeans. I didn't. Why? Rowan was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood, turning to face him. Because I'm tired, she said, voice raw, honest. I'm tired of running, tired of being alone, tired of pretending I don't need anyone. She swallowed hard. And because when you showed me that charm, when you told me about the fire, something inside me remembered. Not the details, not your faces, but the feeling of being safe, of being wanted. Elias's expression softened. I've spent my whole life chasing that feeling, Rowan continued, and failing, and I guess I'm just tired of failing. You're not failing. I got thrown into a pit and almost died. And you survived. That's not failure, that's strength. Rowan laughed, bitter, broken. I don't feel strong. You don't have to feel it for it to be true. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But the voice in the back of her head whispered otherwise. The voice that had kept her alive for 23 years. The voice that said trust was a trap, that people left, that safety was an illusion, that she was better off alone. Rowan, Elias said quietly, look at me. She did. His silver eyes caught the torchlight, bright, intense, honest. I know what you're thinking, he said. I know because I've thought it too, that we're going to leave, that this is temporary, that the bond is going to break and you're going to end up alone again. Her throat tightened. But that's not going to happen, he continued, because we've been looking for you for 20 years, we just didn't know it, and now that we've found you, we're not letting go. You say that now. I'll say it tomorrow, and the day after, and every day until you believe it. Rowan's eyes burned. She blinked hard, turned away, focused on the water. What if I can't do this? She whispered. Then we'll help you. What if I screw it up? Then we'll fix it, together. What if I'm not enough? Elias's hand touched her shoulder, gentle, grounding. You're already enough, he said. You've always been enough. The bond pulsed, warm, steady. Rowan closed her eyes, let the words sink in, let herself feel them. For just a moment, then footsteps echoed from the tunnel behind them. Fast, urgent. Elias tensed. His hand dropped from her shoulder. He turned, body shifting into something harder, sharper. A figure appeared in the tunnel entrance. Not Cade, not Kieran. A woman. Tall, lean, dark hair pulled back in a severe braid, eyes like storm clouds. She wore black tactical gear, a blade strapped to her thigh, and an expression that could have cut glass. She stopped at the edge of the chamber, looked at Elias, then at Rowan. "So," she said, voice cold, clipped, "this is her." Elias's jaw tightened. "Mara." "Don't Mara me." The woman stepped forward, dangerous, controlled. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "We saved her life." "You claimed her, in front of the council. In front of half the territory." Mara's eyes flicked to Rowan, sharp, assessing. "Do you know what that means?" Rowan's pulse spiked. "I'm guessing it's bad." "Bad doesn't cover it." Mara's mouth curved, not a smile, something colder. "You just declared war." Silence. Elias's hands curled into fists. The council had no right to sentence her. The council doesn't need a right. They have power, and now you've challenged it. Mara crossed her arms. "Every alpha in the territory is going to come for her, to test her, to see if she's worth the claim." Rowan's stomach dropped. "What?" "You heard me." Mara's gaze pinned her. "You're bonded to 3 dragon alphas. That makes you valuable, powerful, a threat. And every alpha with ambition is going to want to either claim you for themselves or eliminate you before you become a problem. I'm not a threat, I'm just... You survived the wolf's den, you made the pack bow, you bonded with a triad." Mara's voice went flat. "You're not just anything anymore, you're a target." Rowan's legs went weak. She braced herself against the edge of the pool. Elias moved between them. "That's enough." "It's not nearly enough." Mara's eyes burned. "You should have told me before you did this. I could have prepared, could have put protections in place. But now?" She laughed, sharp, bitter. "Now we're scrambling, and she's the one who's going to pay for it." "No one's touching her," Elias said, voice low, dangerous. "You can't protect her forever. Watch me." Mara's expression shifted. Something softer flickered behind the ice, almost worried. "They're already moving," she said quietly. "The council called an emergency session. They're debating whether to honor your claim or challenge it." "Let them challenge." "Elias." Mara stepped closer, dropped her voice. "If they challenge, you'll have to fight, all 3 of you, and if you lose, we won't." "If you lose," she continued, ignoring him, "she goes back to the den, or worse." Rowan's heart slammed against her ribs. "Worse?" Mara's gaze flicked to her. "Public execution, as a warning to anyone else who thinks they can defy the council." The room tilted. Rowan's knees buckled. Elias caught her before she hit the ground. His arms wrapped around her, holding her up, steady and solid. "That's not going to happen," he said, voice rough, fierce. "You can't promise that," Mara said. "I just did." Silence stretched between them, thick, heavy. Then Mara exhaled. Long, tired. "Cade and Kieran need to know," she said. "Now." "They already do." "Then why aren't they here?" "Because Rowan needed space, and I gave it to her." Mara's jaw tightened. Space is a luxury she doesn't have anymore. Rowan's hands curled into Elias's shirt. Her whole body shook, not from fear, from rage. "I didn't ask for this," she said, voice low, shaking. Mara looked at her. Really looked, and for the first time, something almost like sympathy crossed her face. "I know," she said quietly, "but you're in it now, and the only way out is through." "Through what?" "The challenge, the fight, the blood." Mara paused. "The bond." Rowan's breath caught. "If you want to survive," Mara continued, "you're going to have to complete the bond, all of it. No half measures, no hesitation." "What does that mean?" Rowan asked. Mara's gaze flicked to Elias, then back to her. "It means you're going to have to let them in," she said. "All the way. Mind, body, soul. Because a partial bond won't protect you, it'll just make you weak." The words hit like a fist to the chest. Rowan's grip on Elias tightened. "I don't know if I can do that." "Then you'll die." Silence. Elias's arms tightened around her. "She's not dying." "Then make the bond complete," Mara said, "before someone else does it for you." She turned and walked back into the tunnel. Her footsteps echoed, faded, disappeared. Rowan stood in Elias's arms, shaking, heart racing, mind spinning. "She's wrong," Elias said quietly. "You're not going to die." She sounded pretty sure. "She's scared." "We all are." Rowan pulled back, looked up at him. "What happens if we complete the bond?" Elias's jaw worked. "You become ours, permanently, irrevocably. And if we don't? His eyes darkened. Then the council will tear you apart, and we'll have to watch. Rowan's stomach twisted. So what do we do? She whispered. Elias's hand cupped her face. Gentle, careful. We fight, he said. Together. The bond pulsed. And somewhere in the dark, Rowan heard footsteps. Multiple. Coming closer. The footsteps grew louder. Multiple sets. Heavy, deliberate. Elias's body went rigid. His hand dropped from Rowan's face, moving to the small of her back, guiding her behind him. Not roughly, just protectively. Stay close, he murmured. Who is it? I don't know. The bond flared. Hot, urgent. Not just from Elias, from somewhere else, somewhere deeper in the tunnels. Cade and Kieran felt it too. They were coming. 3 figures emerged from the tunnel. Not guards, not council members. Cade, Kieran. And behind them, Mara again, her expression carved from stone. Cade's eyes found Rowan immediately, scanned her, head to toe, checking for injury, for fear, for anything that might have changed in the minutes since he'd let her walk away. You're okay, he said. Not a question, a confirmation. Yeah. His jaw tightened. Mara told us. About the council? About all of it. Kieran stepped forward. His pale eyes swept the chamber, assessing exits, vulnerabilities, threats, always calculating, always 3 steps ahead. We need to move, he said. Voice flat, controlled. The council's sending enforcers. They'll be here within the hour. Rowan's stomach dropped. An hour? Maybe less. Then we leave, Elias said. Take her topside. Get her out of the territory. They'll follow, Mara said. The bond's too strong now. They'll track her anywhere. Then we fight. 3 against how many? Mara's voice went sharp. The council has 30 enforcers. Maybe more. You're good, but you're not that good. Cade's hands curled into fists. So what do you suggest? Mara's gaze flicked to Rowan, then back to the 3 of them. Complete the bond, she said. Now. Silence. Rowan's pulse spiked. What? You heard me. Mara stepped closer. A completed bond gives you protection, power. The council can't touch a fully bonded triad. It's law, ancient law. Even they have to respect it. That's convenient, Rowan muttered. It's survival. Mara's eyes hardened. Partial bonds are weak, breakable. But a complete bond? That's iron, unbreakable. It binds you to them and them to you in ways the council can't challenge. And if we don't? Rowan asked. Then they separate you, kill the bond, and execute you as a rogue omega with no claim. The words landed like bullets. Rowan's breath came fast, shallow. Her ribs ached, her head pounded. The bond tugged at her chest, insistent and demanding, pulling her toward all 3 of them at once. How do we complete it? She asked quietly. Mara's expression softened, just slightly. You already know. Rowan's stomach twisted. She did know. Bonds weren't completed with words. They were completed with touch, with trust, with vulnerability laid bare and offered freely, with intimacy. Her face flushed. Cade's eyes darkened. We're not forcing her. I'm not suggesting you force her, Mara said. I'm suggesting you give her a choice, complete the bond and survive, or leave it partial and die. That's not a choice, Rowan said, voice shaking. That's coercion. That's reality. Mara's voice went soft, almost gentle. I'm sorry, but this is the world we live in, and right now, completing the bond is the only way to keep you alive. Rowan looked at Cade, then Kieran, then Elias. All 3 of them watched her with identical expressions, tense, careful, waiting, not pushing, just waiting. I need a minute, Rowan said. You don't have a minute, Mara said. Then I'll take 30 seconds. Rowan's voice went hard. Get out. Mara's jaw tightened, but she nodded, turned, walked back into the tunnel. The moment she was gone, the air in the chamber shifted. Heavier, thicker. Rowan's pulse hammered in her throat. She pressed her back against the cool stone wall, hands braced on either side of her hips. Her whole body trembled. I don't want to do this because I have to, she said quietly. I don't want it to be about survival. Cade moved first, slow, careful. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she could feel the heat rolling off him, see the tension in his jaw. Then don't, he said. Rowan blinked. What? Don't do it because you have to. Do it because you want to. But if I don't, we'll find another way, Mara said. I don't care what Mara said. Cade's voice went rough. Fierce. I'm not completing this bond because the council's forcing your hand. I'm not touching you, claiming you, binding myself to you because we're out of options. That's not what you deserve. Rowan's throat tightened. You deserve a choice, Cade continued. A real one, not survival, not desperation, but something you choose, something you want. And if I can't choose, Rowan whispered. If I don't know what I want, then we wait. We don't have time to wait. Then we make time. Kieran stepped forward. His pale eyes found hers. Softer now, less ice, more storm. We're not going anywhere, he said quietly. Not without you. If that means fighting 30 enforcers, we fight. If it means running, we run. If it means standing between you and the council until they give up or we die, we do that too. Elias moved to her other side. Close, present. We're yours, he said simply. Bond or no bond. Complete or partial. It doesn't matter. We're already yours. We have been since the day we pulled you out of that fire. The bond pulsed, triple-threaded, burning. Rowan's eyes burned. She blinked hard, but the tears came anyway. Hot, fast, unstoppable. I don't know how to do this, she choked out. I don't know how to let people in. I don't know how to trust. I don't know how to... Cade's hand cupped her face, gentle, grounding. Then let us show you, he said. Rowan's breath hitched. Kieran's fingers brushed her wrist, feather-light, asking permission. Elias's hand settled at the small of her back, warm, steady. The bond sang, not demanding, not pulling, just there, open, waiting. For her, Rowan closed her eyes, focused on the sensation. 3 points of contact, 3 heartbeats syncing with hers, 3 lives offering themselves without condition. She'd spent her whole life running from this, from connection, from trust, from the terrifying vulnerability of letting someone see all of her and choosing to stay anyway. But she was so tired of running. Okay, she whispered. Cade's thumb brushed her cheekbone. Okay? Yeah. She opened her eyes, met his gaze, crimson and gold, burning, honest. I choose this, I choose you. All of you. Something shifted in Cade's expression. Relief, joy, hunger. You're sure? Kieran asked, voice low, rough. No, Rowan laughed, broken, wet. But I'm doing it anyway. Elias's hand tightened at her back. That's the bravest thing you've ever said. Rowan's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Then Cade kissed her. Soft, careful, like he thought she might shatter. The bond exploded. Heat rolled through her chest, down her spine, into every nerve ending. Her knees buckled. Cade's arm caught her around the waist, holding her up, holding her close. His mouth moved against hers, gentle, reverent, like he'd been waiting 20 years for this moment, and now that it was here, he wanted to memorize every second. Rowan's hands fisted in his shirt, pulled him closer, kissed him back. The bond hummed, bright, alive, right. When they finally broke apart, both of them breathing hard, Cade pressed his forehead to hers. We've got you, he murmured. I know. Kieran's hand moved to her jaw, turning her gently. His eyes searched hers, asking. Rowan nodded. He kissed her. Different from Cade, slower, deeper, like he was drowning and she was air. The bond flared again, hotter, stronger. Rowan gasped against his mouth. Her hands found his shoulders, gripping, anchoring herself. Kieran's fingers threaded through her hair, careful, possessive. When he pulled back, his breathing was ragged, his eyes burned. You're ours now, he said quietly. Yeah, Rowan's voice shook. I am. Elias's hand turned her again. His silver eyes glinted, that crooked smile playing at his lips. My turn, he said. Then he kissed her. Fire, pure fire. Not gentle like Cade, not drowning like Kieran, but wild, consuming, like he wanted to crawl inside her chest and live there. The bond roared. Rowan's back hit the stone wall. Elias's body pressed against hers, solid and warm and there. His hands framed her face, thumbs stroking her cheekbones, his mouth moving against hers like he'd never get enough. When he finally pulled back, all 3 of them were breathing hard. The air in the chamber crackled, electric, alive. The bond settled, deeper now, heavier, not complete, not yet. But close, so close. Rowan's legs trembled. Her whole body flushed. The pull in her chest had transformed into something else, something bigger. Something that felt less like a hook and more like a heartbeat she shared with 3 other people. We should go, Kieran said, voice rough, strained, before the enforcers get here. Where? Rowan asked. Somewhere safe, Cade said. Somewhere we can finish this properly. Rowan's face heated. Finish? Elias grinned. Wicked, unrepentant. The bond's not complete yet, sweetheart. We've got work to do. Her stomach flipped. Cade shot Elias a look, not helping. I'm always helping. You're always a problem. Same thing. Despite everything, Rowan laughed. Short, breathless, but real. Cade's expression softened. Come on, let's get you out of here. He held out his hand. Rowan took it. They moved through the tunnels. Fast, purposeful. Cade led. Kieran took the rear. Elias stayed at her side, hand at her back, guiding her through turns she didn't recognize. The bond pulsed with every step. Stronger, steadier. They climbed, higher. The air grew warmer, drier, less cave-like. Finally, they emerged into a room Rowan hadn't seen before. Larger than the last. Stone walls, a massive bed in the center, covered in dark furs and soft blankets, a fireplace already burning. Windows carved into the rock, showing the night sky beyond. It was beautiful. And terrifying. Because she knew what came next. Cade closed the door behind them, locked it. The sound echoed. Final, irrevocable. Rowan's pulse spiked. All three of them turned to look at her. Not crowding, not demanding. Just waiting. You can still change your mind, Cade said quietly. Rowan shook her head. I don't want to. You're sure? I'm terrified, she admitted. But yeah, I'm sure. Kieran moved first, crossed the room, stopped in front of her. Then let us take care of you, he said, voice soft. Almost gentle. Rowan's breath caught. Elias stepped closer. His hand found hers, squeezed. We'll go slow, he promised. Cade's hand settled on her shoulder, warm, grounding. And we'll stop the second you ask us to, he added. The bond hummed, content, safe. Rowan looked at the three of them. The men who saved her, the men who remembered her, the men who offered her something she'd never had before. Home. Okay, she whispered. And for the first time in her life, Rowan Graves stopped running and let herself fall. The firelight painted shadows across their faces. Rowan stood in the center of the room, surrounded by 3 dragon alphas who watched her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Not from fear, from anticipation, from the sheer weight of the moment pressing down on her shoulders. The bond hummed, insistent, hungry, alive. Cade moved first, slow, deliberate. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. We're going to take care of you, he said quietly. Every step, together. Rowan nodded, her throat too tight for words. His hand moved to her face, cupped her jaw, thumb brushing her cheekbone. Gentle, reverent. You're safe, he murmured. You've always been safe with us. The bond pulsed. Kieran stepped to her right. His fingers found her wrist, traced the delicate bones there. His touch was cool compared to Cade's heat, grounding. Breathe, Kieran said, voice soft, almost tender. She tried. It came out shaky. Elias moved to her left. His hand settled at the small of her back, warm, steady. We've got you, he said. All of you. The 3 of them surrounded her. Not crowding, not trapping. Just holding space, creating safety in the circle of their bodies. Rowan closed her eyes, focused on the sensations. 3 heartbeats syncing with hers. 3 scents wrapping around her. Smoke and stone and cold wind. Safety and danger and home. I need you to understand something, Cade said. His voice pulled her back. She opened her eyes, met his gaze. This bond? It's not just about protection. It's not just about survival. Then what is it about? She whispered. It's about choosing each other, every day, every moment, even when it's hard. Even when it hurts. Kieran's thumb stroked the inside of her wrist. It's about trust. And vulnerability, Elias added. Letting someone see all of you. The broken parts, the scared parts, the parts you've spent your whole life hiding. Rowan's breath hitched. I don't know if I can do that. You already are, Cade said. You're here. You're choosing this. That's the hardest part. Everything else? Elias's voice went soft, almost playful. That's the easy part. Despite everything, Rowan's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Cade's expression gentled. Can I kiss you again? Her stomach flipped. Yeah. He leaned in, slow, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. She didn't. His mouth found hers, soft, thorough, like he was memorizing the shape of her lips, the taste of her breath, the way she trembled when his hand slid into her hair. The bond flared, hot, bright. Rowan's hands found his chest, fisted in his shirt, pulled him closer. Cade groaned against her mouth. The sound vibrated through her chest, made her knees weak. When he pulled back, both of them were breathing hard. "Kieran," Cade said, voice rough. "Your turn." Kieran's hand moved to her jaw, turned her gently. His pale eyes searched hers, asking, always asking. Rowan leaned into his touch. He kissed her, different from Cade, slower, deeper, like he was drowning in her and didn't want to be saved. His other hand found her waist, pulled her against him, solid, cool, grounding. The bond pulsed, stronger now, hotter. When Kieran broke the kiss, his forehead pressed against hers, his breathing ragged. "You're perfect," he murmured. Rowan's eyes burned. "I'm really not." "To us, you are." Elias's hand tightened at her back. "My turn." Rowan turned, met those silver eyes, that crooked smile. "Hi," she said, because her brain was useless. Elias grinned. "Hi yourself." Then he kissed her. Fire, pure fire. His mouth moved against hers like he was trying to consume her whole. His hands framed her face, thumbs stroking her cheekbones, his body pressing against hers. The bond roared. Rowan gasped. Her hands flew to his shoulders, gripping, anchoring herself. When Elias pulled back, his eyes glowed. Literally, silver, threaded with something brighter, something wild. "We're going to complete this bond now," he said. Voice rough, barely controlled, all the way. "Are you ready?" Rowan's pulse spiked. "I think so." "That's not a yes." She took a shaky breath. "Yes, I'm ready." The three of them moved as one. Cade's hands found the hem of her torn shirt, lifted it slowly, carefully, giving her time to stop him. She didn't. The fabric slid over her head. Gone. Kieran's fingers traced the bruises on her ribs, the scrapes on her shoulder. His touch was feather-light, reverent. "You're hurt," he said quietly. "I'm okay." "You're not, but you will be." Elias's hands moved to her jeans, unbuttoned them, slid the zipper down, slow, deliberate. Rowan's breath came fast, shallow. The bond pulsed in time with her heartbeat. They undressed her, piece by piece, not rushing, not fumbling, just careful, like she was something precious. When she stood bare before them, the firelight painting gold across her skin, all three of them went still, staring. Rowan's face flushed. "Don't just stare." Cade's voice went rough. "You're beautiful." "I'm covered in bruises." "You're perfect," Kieran said, firm, final. Elias's hands found her waist, pulled her close. "And you're ours." The bond sang. They moved to the bed, lowered her onto the soft furs, surrounded her. Cade kissed her mouth. Kieran kissed her shoulder. Elias kissed the hollow of her throat. 3 points of contact, 3 fires burning. Rowan's hands found them. Cade's hair, Kieran's shoulders, Elias's back. Holding on, letting go. The bond built, slow, steady, layering heat upon heat upon heat until she couldn't tell where she ended and they began. Cade's voice in her ear. "We're going to mark you now. All 3 of us. It'll hurt for a second. Then it'll feel like everything." Rowan nodded, breathless, trembling. "Say yes," Kieran murmured. "We need to hear it." "Yes," she whispered. Cade's teeth found the juncture of her neck and shoulder, bit down, gentle, claiming. Pain flared, sharp, bright. Then pleasure rolled through her like a wave, drowning everything else. Kieran marked her other shoulder, his bite cooler, steadier. The bond pulsed, brighter. Elias marked the hollow of her throat, his bite hottest, wildest. The bond exploded. Light, heat, connection so deep it reached into her soul and pulled. Rowan cried out, not from pain, from overwhelm. From the sheer intensity of feeling 3 heartbeats syncing with hers, 3 souls wrapping around hers, 3 lives binding themselves to hers so completely she didn't know where they ended and she began. They moved together, slow, careful, building something between them that felt less like sex and more like home. The bond completed. Click. Like a lock turning, a door opening, a key finding its match. Rowan's vision blurred. Tears streamed down her face. Not from pain, from relief, from the overwhelming sensation of being seen, fully, completely, without judgment or condition. Being chosen. Being kept. When it was over, They collapsed together in a tangle of limbs and sweat and satisfied sighs. The bond hummed, content, complete, unbreakable. Rowan lay between them, breathing hard, body trembling, mind spinning. Cade's arm draped over her waist. Kieran's hand threaded through her hair. Elias's fingers traced lazy patterns on her shoulder. "You okay?" Cade asked quietly. Rowan laughed, broken, breathless. "I don't know what I am." "You're ours," Kieran said. "That's what you are." "And we're yours," Elias added. "Forever." The word settled over her like a blanket. Forever. Rowan closed her eyes. Let it sink in. Let herself believe it. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. She had a pack, a bond, a home. The fire crackled. The bond hummed. Outside, the night pressed against the windows. And somewhere in the dark, the council was moving. But for now? For this one perfect moment? Rowan Graves was safe. The three of them lay in silence. Content. Complete. Then Rowan's eyes snapped open. "Wait," she said, sitting up suddenly. "What did Mara mean when she said I made the wolves bow? What power do I have?" The three of them exchanged looks. "We were going to talk about that," Cade said carefully. "Talk about what?" Kieran sat up, his expression serious. "You're not just an Omega, Rowan." Her stomach dropped. "What does that mean?" Elias propped himself on one elbow. "It means the reason the wolves obeyed you, the reason the bond is so strong, the reason the council is terrified of you." He paused. The bond pulsed. Warning, urgent. Then footsteps echoed from outside the door. Heavy, multiple. The door exploded inward. 5 enforcers stormed inside, armed, armored, eyes glowing faint amber. Behind them, a figure stepped into the firelight. Tall, regal, eyes like black glass. The head of the council. She smiled, cold, sharp. "Well," she said, "isn't this cozy?" Cade moved, fast, putting himself between Rowan and the enforcers. Kieran and Elias flanked her, all three of them shifting into defensive positions. The head of the council's smile widened. "Did you really think completing the bond would save her?" she asked. "How sweet. How naive." "The law protects completed bonds," Cade growled. "The law protects normal bonds." The head's eyes flicked to Rowan. "But she's not normal." "Is she?" Rowan's pulse spiked. "What are you talking about?" The head stepped closer. The enforcers moved with her. 23 years ago," she said slowly, "a child survived a fire that should have killed her. The building burned to ash. Everyone inside died, except one little girl." Rowan's stomach twisted. "We thought it was luck," the head continued. "A miracle. But miracles don't exist, do they?" "Get to the point," Kieran said, voice flat, dangerous. The head's smile turned razor sharp. "The point," she said, "is that Rowan Graves didn't survive that fire." Silence. Rowan's heart stopped. "She died in that fire," the head said, and something else walked out. The bond pulsed, frantic, confused. Rowan's hands shook. "That's not true." "Isn't it?" The head tilted her head. "Tell me, Rowan, do you remember what happened after the boys carried you out? Do you remember the moment you stopped breathing?" "No. No. Do you remember?" The head continued, voice soft, deadly. "What brought you back?" Rowan's vision blurred. Her chest tightened. She couldn't breathe. Cade's hand found hers, squeezed. "Whatever you're implying." "I'm not implying anything." The head's eyes glowed, black threaded with crimson. "I'm telling you the truth. Rowan Graves is not human. She's not Omega. She's not even alive." The room tilted. "She's something older," the head whispered. "Something we thought was extinct. Something that should never have been allowed to bond with a dragon triad." Rowan's knees buckled. Elias caught her, held her up. "What is she?" he demanded. The head's smile turned triumphant. "She's a phoenix." The word detonated like a bomb. The enforcers moved. Cade shifted. Scales rippling across his skin. Crimson fire building in his throat. Kieran's eyes iced over, claws extending. Elias's body tensed, ready to fight. The bond screamed. And Rowan felt it, deep in her chest, buried beneath 23 years of forgetting. Heat. Not from the bond. From inside her. Building, growing, burning. Her hands ignited. Gold fire, pure and bright and impossibly hot. Everyone froze. The head's smile vanished. "Impossible," she breathed. Rowan stared at her hands, at the flames dancing across her skin, at the power she'd never known she had. The power that had saved her life. The power that made the wolves bow. The power that completed a bond no one thought possible. Phoenix fire. Cade's voice cut through the shock. Rough. Awed. Rowan. She looked up, met his eyes. What do we do? She whispered. The enforcers raised their weapons. The head stepped back, fear flickering across her face for the first time. And somewhere deep in Rowan's chest, beneath the bond and the fire and the terror, something ancient opened its eyes. And roared. The flames exploded. Gold light flooded the room. And when it faded, everything had changed. The bond was complete. The secret was out. And Rowan Graves was no longer running. She was rising. But was the council ready for what she'd become? And more importantly, was she? The end, or is it? Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as can ever imagine. So do check it out. If that ending wrecked you, hit subscribe. The next chapter drops soon.